Welcome to the Kamala.
No, just get take two
Welcome to the American Fork
podcast.
Kamala.
No, do it again. Take three.
That's not.
Okay,
Take a deep breath.
What?
You got this? You got this?
I haven't done this in like so many episodes.
Okay, just do it.
Welcome to the American Fork podcast.
Yay.
I'm your host, Phil. With us, we have Kamala.
No, Phil.
Take four.
What's on your mind right now? What are you thinking about?
We'll get to it.
Oh,
I've got
okay.
my buddy Jeff here,
Hi.
Jake,
Hi.
Amber,
Yep. Mhm.
and we've got a great guest this evening, Vaughn Cook.
Hello, everyone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Vaughn is a United States congressional candidate.
That's right.
Did I say all those words correctly?
The Utah's
think so.
4th
Yeah.
district.
For the
Yes.
4th District of Utah.
Yeah.
And we're going to get into that. We're excited to have you on.
I have to interrupt though.
Oh.
I just realized we've met and been talking, and then when you talk into that mic, Vaughn, you sound wonderful.
Yeah.
Oh,
you've got
cool.
a
Good.
great voice.
He really
I just
did-
realized that. We've been talking for like 20 minutes.
I've
He
been told
really
I
didn't
have-
like it before you started talking into the mic, but
Well, I've
everything's
been
good
told I
now.
have a face for radio, so
Oh, well, I wasn't going to say anything.
There you
like
go.
that.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Phil.
Oh,
Proceed.
well, great.
Proceed.
On this podcast, per tradition, since we all grew up in American Fork, which is a small town in Utah, we start with the news in American Fork. This one's a little wild. I call this Bearican Fork Canyon.
Is there a bear involved?
There is.
Wow.
This one's pretty wild because I haven't heard of a bear up there in quite some time. But apparently one was rattling around the campgrounds,
Which
camp
one?
places.
Alta, over by Timpanuki. The one
Yeah,
right where
Timpanuki.
Altamont, Alta, something
Whatever.
I could probably look it up and read it to you, but I
Already
won't.
Thanks, Phil.
No, it say Granite Flats, Timpanuki,
Oh.
Salamander Flat, and Altamont
Altamont.
campgrounds.
Is it a black bear?
Yeah, it was a black bear.
Yeah, there are
Oh.
no grizzly bears in the state of Utah.
It could have been a brown bear, though, right?
It was a black male.
Could have been a polar bear.
I think grizzlies are a type. Well, I don't know
Panda?
actually. Grizzlies
panda.
are just a type of brown bear, aren't they?
Well, they are brown.
Yeah.
If that's what you're saying.
I
I think
don't
that's
know.
what he said.
But this one was black.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
a black
This
bear.
was the black brown bear.
but I think black bears can be brown. I don't think
There's none of that makes
it has
sense.
nothing to do with the color. I think it's like the shape of their head. A black bear has like a scooped face.
You got to
and-
be kidding me.
And
right
a
now.
brown bear or grizzly bear has like a downward face with a.
So why didn't they
jutting out
name
nose.
it scooped face bear and downward face normal bear, other bear?
Well,
Why did they confuse us with the colors?
they just didn't.
Colorblind
but,
people have a hard time with that, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. This one reminds me, though, of that horrible tragedy way back in, when was it? Like 2006 or something?
Oh, yeah.
Where they had
With
that kid get.
That kid was in my neighborhood
Yeah.
that I live in now.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why do you bring every podcast down?
Like the worst
Well,
possible.
He learned
Yeah.
from me.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, good. This is a bear story. We can talk about wilderness and safety.
Yeah.
And then you're like, but do you remember that kid that died?
Yeah. Well,
That's really terrible, Phil.
it is. But, well, it's what makes you think because there's a bear up there. That's
That's
where
true.
a lot of people go. So that's potentially where it was heading.
They closed that whole area,
Yeah.
Oh, really?
made everyone go home.
Well, it's sad that they couldn't relocate it.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Did they kill it?
Yeah.
They did.
Yeah, they needed
They had to pew it.
Pew pew.
They killed it. So, so there's no more bear up there.
Okay.
Probably, I wouldn't be surprised if it were because of the last incident.
That's true.
'Cause it's like,
Probably.
we're gonna be extra careful, which is probably the opposite of like other like national parks you go to. Like I imagine like Yosemite, bears are just like everywhere, and they're like
Yeah.
everyone. They're like they're fine. Leave them alone. Keep your food
Yeah.
out of your tent.
But once they
That
develop
kind of
a
thing.
taste for peach gummy rings,
Yeah.
peach
Yeah.
rings,
There's no going back.
there's no going back.
Yeah.
It's like crack cocaine for a brown bear.
For brown bear.
Exactly.
Poop face.
Like blood for sharks.
Exactly. Feeding frenzy.
So there was our American Fork news. There was a bear up American Fork Canyon. On to Utah news. We've talked about this a little bit before, and I'm going to dive into it even deeper. than we did before.
Is it murder and terribleness?
Nope.
Okay, good.
Has nothing. Well,
Okay, just go, Phil. We know how it goes.
this story is
Off
called
the Band-Aid.
Surprise. Utah was the only one that bid on the Olympics, and they won.
Yes.
Holy smokes. So when I was looking into this, when the last Olympics came to Utah, I was in high school. I wasn't paying much attention.
Yeah, Phil,
But-
we knew you.
Yeah.
You were there. You
But
don't have to tell us.
apparently, it was a big scandal with the Olympics because people in Utah were paying off Olympic representatives or like giving them free like hotel stays and paying for their kids' tuition and stuff to get the Olympics in Utah.
Oh, wow.
Do you guys remember this or
I
know
do
anything
remember
about this?
I remember it being a scandal, but I don't remember exactly details of it.
Yeah, apparently Utah representatives were bribing them pretty much. And that it was a big thing. And a bunch of the Olympic committee resigned over it. And that's when the whole thing where Mitt Romney came in and saved the Olympics. That's
Right.
what he
Wow.
was saving because it was like this big scandal. Everybody was like, no one's going to like the Olympics in Utah type thing. So
Yeah.
he came in and,
It ended up being successful.
yeah.
Yep.
But anyway, I brought that up because before you guys did a podcast and I wasn't here and you talked about the Olympics.
Yeah.
And you were asking the question, why is Utah the only one that's bidding
That's true.
on the Olympics? And
And you have an answer for us.
one of the things I found is that apparently the Olympics isn't a very good thing economically for the host country or place, at least within the last 10 or 15 Olympics. I don't know if you guys have heard about this or read about it at all, but I just want to throw a couple numbers out at you. For example, the previous Summer Olympics was in Tokyo. They planned on spending $6 billion and spent nearly $12 billion.
Wow.
Anyway, I'll hold this chart up
Jeez.
for you. These fat orange bars are the projected budgets that these countries start out with, and then these skinny bars are where they end up. So
Holy
They're
crap.
2 to 3 times the size.
Yeah,
Yes.
what's that one right there?
So Rio de Janeiro is that
Oh.
one that's sticking way out there. Wanted to spend about $5 billion and ended up at about almost $24
Holy
crap.
billion dollars.
See, I've heard this before that Utah was one of the few or the only, I can't remember, Winter Olympics in the recent past that has made money.
Yeah.
They actually benefited financially from hosting the games. I don't know
Yeah,
how
that's
true
what
that is.
I thought I heard that too.
Yeah, well, if you look at this Winter Olympics thing, you've got the Sochi Olympics was out of this world. They
Holy
tried
cow.
to spend.
Where's Sochi?
Is it? Where is
China.
Sochi? Is
China.
it Finland? Finland?
China.
It's not. How
If
do none
only
of us
we
know
had
where
a
Sochi
device
is?
that we could look up where things are. Like
Sochi Olympics.
Sochi sounds like a good dessert.
Strawberry Sochi,
I'll have 2 Sochis,
please.
1 strawberry, 1 peach. Thank you.
Russia.
Of course.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, I've heard lots of craziness about Russia.
So anyway, that was supposed to be $7 billion and ended up being almost $30 billion.
You know, I
That
think
is crazy.
I think it has a lot to do with the amount of money people are collecting at the top. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like if
maybe.
they have to go build something, people connected and whatever are making, executives are making loads and loads of money, and it's not, you know what I mean? I don't know. It seems like a grab, and people are just not running it well.
Yeah,
But
you will.
Is Utah on there?
You will notice Salt Lake City projected about $2 billion and just spent a little bit more than that.
a tiny. It's almost the same amount.
Yeah, they're one of the few that actually kept pretty close to what they shot for.
So what are the blue bars that you're showing us?
These are Winter Olympics.
Oh, winter and
Yeah.
orange was summer.
The funny thing is though, down at the bottom here, it has this caveat that it says those amounts I'm throwing out at you, those are direct costs related to infrastructure and events, meaning new stadiums and bathrooms and
Yeah.
plumbing they got to put in and running the actual events. It doesn't include any like theoretical extra costs. Now, I'm not saying that 2034 isn't going to be a big hit and maybe be really good for the state economically. I was just pointing out that that might be a reason why nobody's bidding on it.
Yeah,
Oh.
I think that's right. I think it's a financial burden for a lot of countries and places. And it'll be interesting to see what new stuff we need to put in place because we basically have
We
everything
still
in
have
place.
the infrastructure for the vast majority of the
Right.
venues that we will use.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty old, may need updating, but
Yeah,
it's there. That's cool.
Yeah. I don't know. What do you think, Vaughn?
I hope it's a success.
Yeah.
I hope we have snow.
Yeah.
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 True.
And it's not that year. Like, what year was that? 2 years ago?
Yeah.
We had
There was,
no
like,
snow.
nothing. Yeah.
It's like the
And then
driest year of my
and then
life.
last year was like record high.
Or I think it was
Couple
the year
years
after
before.
that.
Yeah.
There was a year where it was nothing, and then like the next year was insane.
Insanity.
Yeah.
I do remember 2002 when we had the Olympics last was a really good year. I remember going downtown Salt Lake and there's snow all over the place and Park City and the canyons were doing really good. So
Yeah.
hopefully that's the case this time too.
It's probably because of all those snow blowers they put on top of the temple to make the snow.
Is that what that guy's doing up there?
Yeah. That's what that was.
Yeah.
Angel Moroni is blowing snow from his trumpet.
That'd be awesome.
Anyway, that's our Utah news. The Olympics is coming to Utah again.
Yay.
We already knew that because they were the only one that bid, but now it's like really official
Yeah.
that's where they're going.
Yay.
On to national news. The President of the United States has sleepily, I didn't spell that right, sleepily
Sound it out.
exited the presidential race for
President?
president. Is that right?
You're really good at reading your own notes.
I think, yeah, he's trying to match Biden's vibe.
Exactly. So the president has dropped out, which was kind of a shock and not,
Yeah.
but is a big deal.
I'm not playing dumb. I actually don't know this.
Oh,
Because for a long time Biden said I'm sticking it through until the doctors say I can't. He kind of was putting the weight on the doctors. It seemed like they say I'm in good health and blah blah blah. But
he said something about his
I think it was
doctors.
years ago, like when he started getting, or I shouldn't say years ago, when he started getting accusations of being too old and just whatever. But my question is, I know he got COVID, but did his doctors say, yeah, it's time to know? Like, or has that even been released? Of like, I mean, what was
We
his
don't know.
reasoning for
As far as I know, there's been no
official
statement as to why he's stepped out.
Well, he got in the Oval Office and he did make some comments like, I'm paraphrasing, but he said, I've worked really hard to do blah, 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 but it is time for somebody, yes, younger to blah, blah, blah. Kind of implying that like, yes, to me anyway, it was like, yeah, I am too old to do this.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I don't know if that's, I mean, I've felt like he was too old this whole term.
Yeah.
Like the whole time, it's like this is rough on him. But
and we can all make assumptions, and that's I think what most people would assume is like he's old and his health and whatever. But I'm just wondering what they officially came out with and said.
Yeah.
Like, he's going to pursue
I
another
don't
career.
think there was an official
He's starting a new business. I don't know what he's doing.
Maybe wrong though.
yeah, I don't know if they
Even
they
needed
did.
one. Just plain as day.
Yeah.
It's time, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the debate really did him in. I mean, that was the turning point where even all this media that was very supportive of him, no matter what, was just like, what? 180.
Uh-oh. Yeah.
Like, we gotta. Even Jon Stewart. I don't know if you watch him at all. I was watching him. He had a couple guests on. One of them was maybe a more liberal guest who was saying, "Oh, Biden's fine, Biden's fine, Biden's fine," and Jon Stewart said, "No, this is cognitive decline." Like, and he's one even I feel like that's been more like pro Joe Biden, like all as well. So, so he's exiting the race. He's thrown all his weight behind Kamala.
You said her name like 9 times, and then this time you're like, "What's her name?"
I keep.
I think it's Kamala.
I know. I keep
think
saying
that's-
it wrong. That's why.
Because
Oh,
everyone says both, and I think it's Kamala.
Kamala.
Yeah, I second Jake.
I think so too.
The name that sounds more like a
What do you
Sesame
think,
Street
Vaughn?
character.
I heard her say it once.
Oh, okay.
Kamala.
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 She said
Kamala.
Kamala.
Okay.
Okay.
Kamala.
Oh,
It was
so
official.
not Kamala, because you said
No.
Kamala.
Kamala.
I did. That's
Yeah.
what I thought it was.
See,
Kamala.
Kamala would be the Filipino way to say it, but Kamala would be like the American. Not that that has anything to do with it.
Here's how I'm going to
just-
remember the punctuation, comma, and then la 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 la.
Oh,
Kamala. Kamala.
yeah. There you go. La, 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 la,
I hope that helps all of our listeners. They're just going to know her
Good
name
job,
from here
Jeff.
on.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
great.
Should
Yeah.
we play another game with Harris?
Yeah.
Or no?
No,
Okay.
Kamala's fine.
Harry.
We're going to talk about her more, but I wanted to inject a little bit of conspiracy theory in here before we move on.
Yes,
Okay.
please.
Yeah.
By-
And present it as fact.
And I want to do it by only
Say it
reading
in
some
Alex Jones' voice.
I want to do it by only reading some dates to you, and then I want to hear back after I'm done what the first thing that pops to your mind is.
Okay.
Okay. Thursday, June 27th of this year, Trump and Biden debate.
Okay.
Okay. And we all remember what happened there.
Yeah.
June 30th, which is a couple days later,
3.
the Supreme Court rules that the president has total immunity for all official acts while in
Presidency.
in capacity as president. And actually, I'm going to play a little segment of that. This is not the ruling, but this is a Supreme Court argument. So this is one of the justices. I think it's Justice Kagan asking one of
Kagan.
Trump's lawyers. Kagan, sorry. See,
from
I'm so good at
Kagan Mala.
From
Kagan. Anyway,
from
listen to
Keegan
this.
The president ordered SEAL Team 6 to assassinate a political rival. That's an official act in order to SEAL Team 6.
He would have to be and would speedily be, impeached and convicted before the criminal
But if
prosecution.
you weren't, there would be no criminal prosecution, no criminal liability for that.
Chief Justice's opinion in Marbury against Madison and our constitutional tradition and the plain language of the impeachment judgment clause all clearly presuppose that what the founders were concerned about was not.
I asked you a yes or no question. Could a president who ordered SEAL Team 6 to assassinate a political rival who was not impeached, would he be subject to criminal prosecution?
If he were impeached and convicted first. And
So your answer is no.
My answer is qualified yes.
Okay, so
Who is that guy?
Yeah.
so he's the attorney for Trump. So their attorneys are arguing
RFK's
that.
brother.
I was going to say, is he
Yeah.
RFK's attorney?
So-
He sounded similar.
So just a little context here. This is for Trump's
Yeah.
case with the documents. Is that right? It's for the classified documents case. He's saying you can't even be prosecuting this case because I have absolute immunity. Or no, I actually can't remember which case it was. It could have been the Stormy Daniels case.
I think it was the files case, the
It
documents
might.
case.
You might be right. There's so many cases now, I can't keep them all straight. Anyway, Trump's attorney is making the argument that even if the president ordered SEAL Team 6 to assassinate his presidential rival or his political rival, he would be immune from prosecution. Essentially saying that the president, you can't prosecute the president, you have to impeach the president.
He has to no longer be the president anymore.
Well, yeah, that or Congress and the Senate have to impeach and convict and, in theory, levy some kind of judgment against him. Is that how you understand it,
That's
Vaughn?
what I understand.
Yeah. So, and Vaughn, again, is a congressional candidate for the United States Congress
In District 4 of Utah.
in District 4 of Utah. So, anyway, so there's the context of that. So let me go back. June 27th, they debate. On June 30th, the Supreme Court rules that a president can do anything, include specifically mentioning, it doesn't say that in their ruling, but in the, what do you call that, where some of the justices don't agree?
The dissenting opinion.
The dissent. In the dissenting opinion, they specifically brought that up. They said, no, a president shouldn't be able to assassinate his political opponent, but that's pretty much what they're saying he can do. On July 13th, so this is a couple weeks later, is the assassination attempt against Donald Trump. On July 21st, 1 week after that, Biden drops out of the race.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
Did you get this from, what's that one guy's name?
Alex Jones.
JesseVentura.com? No, I'm just...
AlexJones.net. No, go ahead.
I think that we need more good people around Washington, D.C., that's for sure.
Yeah.
But I think that I go down that rabbit hole too deep, which is like, I completely agree. I'm sure this whole thing was set up. I have no idea.
You're 100%. This was Biden. Biden ordered the assassination.
No. I think it's more like they've kind of known that Biden's going to drop out for a while.
Uh-huh.
So I think that they've set some things in place to, you know what I mean? How could they really think 4 more years with this guy? I don't know. So I think that they had a plan B or plan C, Kamala K, plan K. I don't know what it is. They had a different plan with her, but I obviously don't know the details. But it just seems like it's like, yeah, this all kind of makes sense. Like, how else are you going to do it? Just forfeit and give up?
Yeah.
To Trump?
I don't know.
They don't want that.
And I'm not trying to say that Joe Biden murdered or attempted to murder Donald Trump.
He couldn't climb on the roof.
I'm just pointing out that these dates are like
pretty interesting,
close together. Like all this stuff happened right at once.
So is this implied theory that Biden, because he's president, now he's immune from being held as a criminal? Ordered the assassination of Trump. It failed
with a keen,
and so he's like
operative. By the way,
so
20-year-old.
It actually is interesting to think about because that is what they ruled, right? They just ruled that he could do that, and unless there has to be enough support to impeach him. Now, if it came out clearly that Biden ordered this, I think his own party would turn on him.
Okay, I think you went too far south.
Oh, did I? It was too much.
Well, if you remember, I mean, we did talk about this last time we recorded. I think that I don't think it's Biden, but there's obviously, I think there's somebody.
Yeah.
A lot of time, it seems too weird to just be like a Lone Ranger or some disgruntled guy with a red dot sight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It seems like it's someone else.
Yeah. And I should point out,
something.
As of now, we know of absolutely no evidence tying this shooter to anything, right? We don't know like even what his gripe was. We don't know anything about his political history. We don't know.
They had no motive.
No motive, exactly. We don't have any phone calls with like Joe Biden or whatever. And again, I don't believe Joe Biden tried to assassinate Donald Trump. I'm just pointing out that is
interesting.
Wild. That
interesting timeline.
Yeah, there not only have there not been in recent memory any assassination attempts against Donald Trump, but this seemed to be one where it was wide open.
Yeah.
You know, like obviously this massive failure in the security and all that. I don't know. I think it's at least worth thinking about. Not worth thinking about to immediately draw wild conclusions, but
like you just did,
like I just did, I just spewed all over the airways. But
it is very. I mean, no one can deny this is incredible. Like what's going on right now politically is it almost deserves some ridiculous ending.
Yeah,
because nothing like this has hurt. Like a president not running for re-election. I mean, when has that alone
dropping
happened?
out like 3 weeks before the
insane
convention?
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And then
consider his age though. That's the I think the factor that's unique.
Yeah.
And
well, because he is the oldest.
I was just going to say, is he the oldest? I'm sure he is.
In the world, yes.
I mean, Abraham Lincoln would be older than him if he was still alive, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But he died, right?
Exactly.
He's the oldest person.
So he is super old. He dropped out. and immediately threw all of his weight behind.
Kamala.
No, wait, what did we decide?
So
Kamala.
Kamala.
Yeah.
La.
Not Kamala.
Yeah,
No,
Vaughn
not
said
the
that
way I would say it.
he
with
witnessed her
Philippines.
saying Kamala.
Yeah.
That would
Kamala.
be-
And immediately, he announces Kamala, and my mind immediately goes to all these like cackling YouTube videos of her laughing hysterically at like nonsensical things.
And explaining Russia
buses.
and Ukraine. That's my favorite clip of her.
Yeah.
That's my favorite.
But we've been griping on this podcast about Biden, about his age, about his ability to be president. Is Kamala not better?
She's younger.
She's
She's younger?
Obviously,
Okay.
yeah.
younger.
Yeah, she's about 22 years younger.
Yeah, that's quite a bit younger. Yeah.
She's in her 60s?
59.
Oh, okay.
59. Yeah.
She looks pretty good for
Yeah, she does look
Yeah.
good. I would not have pegged her as like old.
No.
Like
It's
she's
the-
probably in her
It's
prime.
the adrenochrome.
age. The adrenochrome.
Oh my gosh. I thought it was CrossFit,
No.
But
which is also a cult, by the way. CrossFit.
but she actually immediately started polling better than I thought she would.
Here's-
Just given like kind of her history, she's been one of the least popular vice presidents, I believe,
Yeah.
in a long time.
My concern is at this point, if I had to play it out different ways, and I say concern because I always have to look and like, hey, there's really an option of two people. And I hate that idea. I wish there was more options, but
Yeah.
like realistically, I don't know. I wish that would change. But I look at it and I go, okay, who would I rather have? And I think it would, for me at this stage, I don't know, we still got some time, it'd be Trump. But I think that Kamala Harris has a chance because she is not Trump.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I think that I don't know if people are, and that's why I'm bringing this up. I don't know if people are going to mostly vote for her and her politics and her track record or whatever it is. I think she's going to get a lot of not Trump votes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And whatever that means, I don't know what it means. Is that enough to win the presidency?
Which
or
is
not?
what happens
Right.
at any political races. Oh, this person is not the person I hate, so I'm going to vote for them.
And even more so magnified because it's Trump.
Yeah.
Have you guys talked much about Kennedy?
We have.
RFK?
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Not
brought up RFK
Kennedy's my
a couple
boy.
times.
Yeah,
I said
he's
it
my
long
boy.
ago. Yeah.
I really like him, and I've jokingly, but it is, I actually think his voice is a huge turnoff, and it's sad the country is that shallow.
That Jeff is that shallow. It is sad.
Guys, we have a guest
So
here. I'm
many
trying to present
times.
myself as like a very nice,
So many times we
spoken
pointed this out.
individual, but I'm not joking. Like I showed my wife some videos about RFK because I actually really like his concepts and a lot of it just makes sense to me. She's like, what is with his voice? I'm like, really? That's your feedback? Not that my wife's shallow. She's smart.
Yeah.
But I actually do think it's an element, and it's unfortunate.
Yeah, you have to get past it. There's
Isn't
no
that-
question.
but it
It's a put
sucks
off
that you
at first.
do.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Because what he says is
Well,
incredible.
you have to get past Kamala's laugh and
Yeah.
and
True.
And,
you know,
and
Trump's
Biden's
hair.
whatever.
and Trump's legal record. And,
Yeah.
Did you hear the thing Trump said today? Was I probably shouldn't even repeat it.
We're
'Cause I'm gonna-
we're starting a Trump jar
Yeah. Okay.
because I'm sick of it already, Phil.
No. What did he say? He was doing some convention, and I'm going to butcher all these terms and all these acronyms, but it was like I think it was the Black Journalists Association or something like that.
Mhm.
And anyways, right out the gate, they ask him some question like, why do you think you should be here when you've been such a horrible person or something? And he fired right off with his usual, that's such a nasty question that, did that. And then what did he say about Kamala? I really shouldn't repeat it, but I can't stop myself. It's coming out. What he said,
You can't stop
he
yourself.
said something like, I think he said like, he's like, I didn't even know she was black up until like 5 minutes ago. She was Indian. And he kept going on and on about that for like 5 minutes. And everyone was like, oh, it was horrible. Sounds just as horrible coming out of my mouth
Good
as
job,
Yeah.
it
Phil.
did.
Phil.
But
Making this awkward.
no,
Yeah,
yeah.
this is really awkward.
You're welcome.
We're gonna have to edit a lot.
Yeah. Cut a lot out.
Just kidding.
I think you did it justice.
Oh, okay.
You were. It was him that said it.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
Super awkward. No, I get it.
There you go.
I'm teasing.
And I did put a big caveat out there that it was horrible, but
well, thanks, Phil.
it was said by Trump.
You shouldn't be
Anyway,
canceled.
Anyway, it got me laughing because in the good old days when Trump would like lambast Rosie O'Donnell and things like that, it was at least entertaining, but probably sad for America.
Phil has openly admitted he hates hearing about Trump, but he loves talking about Trump.
Yeah,
That's basically what we just witnessed. Is exactly how.
There you go. Exactly.
Like watching a train wreck, huh?
Exactly.
Yeah, you just can't look away.
Yeah. I don't want to like YouTube train wrecks every day, but I can talk about them a lot.
Are you saying Phil or videos of Trump belong on the dark web?
Probably.
Okay.
Anyway, so Kamala is. It could be Trump or Kamala. I'm really hoping it's going to be RFK, and we'll talk about that more when we get to you, Vaughn. But we're going to take a little more somber turn. Jeff's favorite
You guys
thing.
can't do somber.
Oh, because
You bring up some actual
because we
some
are somber.
story that deserves
throw
some.
too many jokes out.
Yes.
Yeah.
You bring up something that deserves some empathy and sympathy, and then all of a sudden, my mouth throws out some heinous joke.
Yeah. Something horrible.
Go for it.
Okay.
Try me.
So this one had a lot of dates around it too, and so much has been going on with this recently. I had to actually put some dates in here, but the title of the story is "The Middle East is going to put your own expletive here." Get it?
You want me to say it?
Yeah.
Middle East is gonna shiz.
Oh, okay.
Is that right?
Nope.
Going to shit.
Going to shiz.
It's going to shit.
Anyway,
There you go.
going to shit, as you said.
Sorry, Phil's grandma.
Sorry, Grandma.
Jeff said it, so I can say it.
On the 11th of July, Israel tells everybody in Gaza to leave, pretty much preempting an invasion or a lot of bombing, or I don't know.
Yeah.
On July 24th, just a couple weeks later,
Pioneer Day.
on Pioneer Day here in Utah, Netanyahu speaks to Congress, if you'll remember that. That could be you soon enough.
It could be.
Vaughn, that he'd be talking to. And on July 27th, just a few days after that, there's this big attack in the Golan Heights. I think it was on like a soccer field or something like that. And I actually had a really hard time because I just heard about it like 2 days ago or whatever it was. And today, when I'm like Googling, trying to find this story, I could not find it. I had to like specifically set Google to be like between this hour and this hour 3 days ago, because it was like totally, I'm not going to say scrubbed, but I just couldn't find it because the whole news story was how Israel allegedly has killed the Hamas leader who happened to be in Iran. And this is all like in the last couple days from now, previous. Mm-hmm. So there's this big attack against Israel. Israel kills Hamas's leader in Iran. And just before I was on my way here, pretty much all the news is saying that there's potentially war going to break out all around Israel because of this. Now, I've said this
war
before.
in the Middle East?
War in the Middle East.
Holy crap.
Maybe a more escalated war than we've been seeing more recently.
News?
This is news.
Wow.
This is the world news right now, brought to you by American Fork.
See, there was my heinous joke. I know, but anyway.
Yeah. So this one I actually would like to turn to Vaughn, because you will be potentially the representative of Utah in the United States Congress, legislating on this issue, potentially, in theory. What do you think?
Well, I think you'd be legislating on support to Israel,
right.
Probably.
Whether or not to support, and what are your feelings on that?
Well, I think we have a long history. I'll try not to sound like a politician here.
That's fine.
We have a long history of supporting Israel, and I don't think that's going to change in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when you look at the complexity of what's happening in the Middle East, it's not like you got a good guy against a bad guy.
Yeah.
You have different cultures than these guys think differently than we do. And if you hit me, I'll hit you back harder. That's kind of their mentality. Mm-hmm. And so it's difficult for us to look and judge them as we judge ourselves. And I think we have to be empathetic with the fact that, Israel is in a vulnerable position, surrounded by a lot of hostile operators. And so, yeah, I don't think it's just a cut and dried, but I don't see the U.S. backing away from Israel anytime soon.
It seems like, and correct me if I'm wrong, it seems like Israel is the one character in that zone that even wants to work with the way that the United States wants things to go. It seems like the others around them are not so cooperative, I guess you could say. I don't know if that's even the right word, but it seems like Israel is kind of like our player in this game that is willing to work with us and whatnot. Does that seem true, or is that...
Maybe.
I don't know.
The way I've always looked at it, I've just been, because my whole life growing up, it's always been like, oh, they fired another rocket at Israel.
Yeah.
Like, oh, another rocket. And I'm like, man, what a horrible place to live where like rockets are just getting shot at you all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously we had Matt on a while ago who explained kind of a lot of the back history of like why everybody's so pissed over there.
Yeah.
Like, and what Palestine's issues were and how they got driven out and everything. But from me, knowing very little about this, I'm just like, rockets get shot over, and I don't see any major retaliation, although of course there has been over the years. But then they had this huge terrorist attack, and so in my mind, it's like, well, look at our response to 9/11. Like 9/11 happened, and we spent like trillions of dollars and killed theoretically hundreds of thousands of civilians in our mission to like retaliate for that, against terrorism. Like, do we have a lot of upper moral hand, I guess you'd say, to tell Israel like, hey, you should tone it down? Like, I don't know. Like, what would we do in their situation? Like, if we were Israel, or if Israel was the 51st state, like, what would be going on? I don't know. And maybe that's a bit too pro-Israel of a
comment.
Yeah. It's
not accepted in my algorithm.
Okay. Is that the end of the argument? Did we win?
I think it is such a mess to me, and I'm sure to like the general public too, unless you are like Matthew. We had a guest on, a friend of ours, and he had spent some time there, and what was his degree?
He was in Jordan in
Middle Eastern
studies, I think.
Yeah. So he has more reality than any of us did, and he definitely had his opinion, which was different than some opinions I've heard. But my point is, I just have no idea. It's such a mess that I don't understand it, So it's pretty interesting to see all these protests, because I don't know how people even understand it here fully.
Yeah, it's hard to look at it from an unbiased perspective when everything that you hear about it is pro either side.
Right. It's like black and white.
And therefore
yeah,
completely anti the other side. And there is no like, well, maybe there's some justification for the way that this region or country is acting. But should, as a result, this country be doing more? It's I don't know. It's really, there's a lot of gray area. And to Vaughn's point, like when it comes to the United States, Israel is an ally, and it's just a matter of, when it comes to Congress and our politics, how much of a support are we going to provide to Israel?
Yeah.
It's not whether we will or not.
Yeah.
I think part of the issue, the underlying issue, is that our military-industrial complex foments war.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If you look at that industry as a company looking for customers,
mm-hmm,
their customers are people who are at war.
Yeah.
And I think that creates a capitalistic incentive for them to actually stir discontent.
No one really does.
And when you look around the world and see how many wars are what they call proxy wars, it's some other country who's sponsoring some group to fight some other group who's sponsored by some other
right.
country. It's not like the U.S. is out there fighting these battles with our our men and women, but we're sponsoring the people who are fighting in those wars. And I think if you kind of roll the curtain back, you'll see that a lot of the problem here is we have an industry that needs customers,
Right.
Yeah.
and what we're talking about is how they get them.
Yeah. And not, this is not Vaughn's opinion at all, it's mine. I feel like those people, wherever behind those curtains, are the ones that are doing the nasty, crazy stuff that you think is
That's who just
blue
tried to
versus
kill Trump.
red.
Party. Yeah.
Yeah, well, people want to pin it on a blue tie versus a red tie, but the truth is, whoever's running that behind those curtains, and it's many countries. It's not just the United States. Those are the guys pulling some serious weight and flopping things around. In my opinion.
So what is the answer to that? Like, should we? And I'm generally not like, let's grow the government. But doesn't it make sense that military, like manufacturing and all that, is the government, that we're not like contracting with companies? Then it's not so much this like, and maybe theoretically the outcome of that is like, oh, well, we don't make as good a weapons or have as good a technology because it's just like the government doing it. There's not this competition that drives this upward momentum. You know what I mean? But just like you said, it does create this atmosphere where now you have all these companies who profit off of death, just like you said. Like,
Yeah, Tony Stark
yeah, exactly.
times many.
So maybe the answer was that like Tony Stark gets bought out by the government,
Mhm.
and
By Samuel L. Jackson.
yeah, by
Oh.
Samuel L. Jackson.
Makes sense.
I'm so glad you brought that up because that's going to be our upper at the end of this. But I wanted to just
That was it.
I wanted to just read this last part because this happened just before I came today. Iran's supreme leader orders direct strike on Israel following assassination of Hanaya, who was the leader of Hamas. Killed in Iran. So he's ordered a direct strike. I don't know what that means. They just did that, if you'll remember, a few weeks ago. There was some retaliation for something, and I think it happened also right before I came to a podcast, and I was like, they're launching missiles right now at Israel. And then we didn't ever talk about what happened, but what happened is they shot them all down, and everything was fine. So maybe that's what's going to happen again here. Hopefully, they shoot a missile, Israel shoots them down. Hopefully it de-escalates a little for a while instead of ramping up and up.
Yeah.
Because behind all this, all these stories and everything are obviously like kids in the streets and
Real people.
right?
Yep.
Families being split apart, people being killed.
Losing their houses.
So, yeah, I don't know what kind of joke to put after that, but
None.
Just
Yeah,
having a
there's,
hard
just
time.
until
there's none.
you just stop talking right there.
Yeah,
Okay. That was episode 126. Stay tuned next time for 127, where you will hear Vaughn give some sweet, sweet rhymes.
He's not rapping.
Oh.
He's running for office.
Okay, but it's going to be good.
It is good.
On 127, up next.
Yes. Good job, Phil.